I'd love to talk a little bit before we start about your speech, your show this past Saturday. Tell us what the topic of discussion was.
It was kind of the 50th anniversary of the crack epidemic. And my section was how crack affected the music and the streets and the party scene. They had a couple of judges there, talked about how the judicial system was affected by crack. We had a couple of mayors, we had three former mayors, how crack affected their city. Omar Bradley, the former mayor of Compton, along with Walter Tucker, another former mayor of Compton, and another gentleman by the name of not Paul Stewart. I forgot his last name. But anyway, he was there. And all these brothers, man, unfortunately, all of them end up going to the penitentiary. Not for crack-related situations. It's just that it seemed like what they represented at that time, and they kind of fought for the cities, it cost them their freedom for a while, man. You know, when black men tend to stand up, somebody got to go to jail or die, one of the two. And they chose to send them to jail.
History has repeated itself many times in that sense, right?
Dude, when I know I was friends with all four of these guys. I had four guys that I was friends with that became mayor of various cities: Carson, Compton 2 times, and Linwood, California, and they all went to jail. They went to jail for shit that would have got anybody else probation. Okay? They went to jail for shit that would have got other people probation. And it was, I mean, nothing that should have been warranted the sentencing that they got. But again, they were in the way of progress and they had to go. And here's the crazy part. They only got one felony and they can't run for nothing. Meanwhile, our boy got multiple felonies. He gets to run the country. I ain't figured it out yet.
You know, speaking of locking people up or unaliving them or making progress from making too many waves, what was the situation like back when MLK and Malcolm X were assassinated? You know, obviously years later, you know, a lot of people suspect that CIA and other government agencies were involved. Was that the talk of the town back in the 60s and all that when it actually happened?
With King, yeah. Not so much with Malcolm, because Malcolm got killed. It was known he got killed by some brothers. It wasn't until later on they did an investigation when they realized these brothers were working with the FBI or some other initial organization. I don't, you know, that situation may vary based on the conversation. But yeah, with Malcolm, with Martin, yeah, it was pretty suspect from the very beginning. He was working with somebody and Malcolm, because he got killed in the open the way he did, and the brothers were at that speech that he made, that initially did not have the same suspicions that MLK's death did.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit more about the crack epidemic. You once said that if people of color do deserve reparations, it's for what the government did to us during the crack epidemic. Dude, break that down.
I understand, and I'm not gonna say if they don't. That's another debt they owe to us. That's another justification for reparations in our modern time, because that stuff was definitely, as they say with a dog, sicked on us. Okay, and they not only was it sicked on us, all the ramifications from it, the prison industrial complex, the way that they treated powder cocaine versus rock cocaine, the sentencing that they applied to a rock possession of rock versus cocaine, because like I said on Saturday, powder was in Hollywood. That was a big thing. I was just talking about this with Unknown before we did the show. Powder was so popular in Hollywood, man. I remember watching Jerry Dunphy. Now, you got to be old to know who Jerry Dunphy is. Jerry Dunphy was on Channel 2, I think it was. His slogan was, "From the desert to the sea in all of Southern California, a good evening." And he, Connie Chung, and some other folks talked about cocaine like it was a brand new wine, and you had to have some if you was gonna party. I mean, they promoted it, dude. They had me curious as hell. I ain't gonna lie. They had me curious. And because it was marketed as the champagne drug, the drug for the elite. If you wanted to be elite and be in that category, you had to go get you a line of that stuff. And dude, I'm telling you, the same drug in different formulas was treated in different ways. It's like somebody loving water can't stand ice. Same thing. If as long as it's water, we good. Turn it to ice, we got a problem. And that's how they treated powder cocaine versus rock cocaine. And at some point in time, rock cocaine made its way to Hollywood, to Signal, to the Capitol Hill, every place else. And that's when they cracked down on it, because it wasn't just about us no more. It was about everybody. That shit was locking up, was messing everybody's life up. When you got senators, mayors on camera fired up, we got a problem. It's shit that got out of control. They ain't just about the niggers no more.
I heard that when the news finally got a hold of the crack thing, that it was already 3 years in. I mean, it was already going in.
They were so far behind, they named it crack. We didn't call it crack. They named it crack.
Ready Rock.
It was Ready Rock. It was rock. It was, there was no, crack was not in the vocabulary. Okay. And when they first started talking about crack cocaine, nobody, what is crack cocaine? Oh, that's rocks. Oh, they got it all messed up. We didn't know nothing about that.
Snowfall. You've seen Snowfall. Great show. I haven't watched it in a few years. I might just go back and check out the season just for kicks. But it got a little weird at the end, right? With the tigers and all that BS. But the beginning of it was
funny.
The beginning of it was, I was too young to understand it, but it seemed like a pretty spot on depiction of how crack came into the picture and how it affected the neighborhoods. When you watch Snowfall, would you say that it was a pretty close to depiction? Were they off? What do you think?
They did a good job in depicting crack cocaine and how it spread. Like I said on Saturday, we've always had drugs in the community. We've always had gangs in the community, but never before did we have a reason for gangs to fight. There was no monetary justification for what they did before crack cocaine. Folks stayed on one side of town. You might have saw them at a party or at a school dance or at a concert. And okay, but now y'all making money. We got to go get this money, and we willing to kill anybody in our way. Change the whole narrative of the streets.